Hey there, it's Eric J. Olson coming to you live from our very empty office. I'm the only one here. But today I have an awesome guest, Eric Newman. What's up, Eric?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, man. Good. Well, hey, for the audience, why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
So my name is Eric Newman. I'm the founder and chief play officer of Roc Solid Foundation. What Roc Solid Foundation does is we build hope for children fighting pediatric cancer. Easiest way to explain it is that we build play sets for kids in their backyards because when a child's diagnosed with cancer, they can't go to public parks. So now what we do is we bring play back to them. So that's the easiest way to explain it.
That is awesome. You know, I heard about you guys way before I actually met you, Eric, and I didn't hear the name of the company. I just heard about this company that like gets limos and like swishes the family away and then builds a playground. Like how did that whole like concept evolve? And actually, maybe to kind of like break it down for us a little bit. What is it like for a family like the day of the event? This is a one-day event or a multiple day event? How does it work?
Yeah, for the family, I think the easiest way to explain it is that in this chaotic time of dealing with pediatric cancer, we can't change the fact that they have cancer, but we can change how they live with it. So what we do is we try to pick them up in a limo and just give them a day to just forget about cancer for a little bit. But at the end of the day, like they're so extremely focused on building hope, focused on kind of the child. We just give them a day to forget about cancer. And when the child comes around the corner, they see the play set for the first time. The one thing that they're not thinking about is cancer. So that's where we have our hashtag and our saying play defeats cancer. But
Nice.
For the family, it just gives them an escape from the current reality of what they're living in.
That's a really awesome escape. Now, do the kids know what's about to happen? Like when they come home, do they know what to expect?
Sometimes they do. A lot of the times they see the wood, the play set out in the yard. The easiest way to get a kid not to focus on you is tell them that you're building tomato plant boxes for their family. And they're like, all right, see, like I have no value for you. So it is, we depending on sometimes in the stage of the journey, the families use the play set as a way to be like, hey, listen, take this chemo. Remember Roc Solid's coming to build the play set. Or they use it at the end of the journey to kind of give a congratulations, like, hey, we made it through. So it's a combination. I would say 75% of the families and the kids, they have no idea.
That was pretty funny about building the tomato boxes. It's almost like, hey, we're going to do chores and clean the house all day. You can stay if you want. But...
Done. Right.
That's hilarious, man. Hey, by the way, anyone who's watching, if you're on Facebook, you can type in a comment. If you have a question or a comment, we will ask or say it live here. And if it's a question for me or for Eric, then we'll answer it live as well. We're going to be on live until about 12:30. And we already have one comment from Missy Curtis. She says, Eric and Eric! Exclamation point.
Oh, man.
Saying hi.
What's up, Misty?
Hey. So, actually, let's take another one. Misty says, Eric Newman and I have known each other for a long, long time. High school, is that right?
Yeah, man. So Misty could tell you some stories on the old Eric, I guess, if you will. Yeah, I've known Misty for a very long time. So.
Oh, this is great. So first of all, Misty, why don't you go ahead and comment on some of the stories so I can
Misty,
read
please
them all.
Do not. Please.
Yeah, in a very public place right now.
Right. Very extremely vulnerable right now.
So. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. What high school did you guys go to?
Western Branch High School in Chesapeake, man.
All right, man. Chesapeake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they all come from.
That's where it's at. That's where I am right now. That's where I live and work. So, well, cool, man. So how did this idea for the nonprofit even come about?
The nonprofit organization really was created out of two tragedies in my life, if you will. I'm a childhood cancer survivor, so I've had that. I've lost two cousins to pediatric cancer. Always been an entrepreneurial spirit. Started many companies. I think I've started 8 or 9 companies. One of them has succeeded, which happened to be the nonprofit. Yeah. But I was in construction 2008, lost everything. Took some time, really asked what this one and only life was about, and came up with the idea to combine my cancer knowledge and my construction knowledge, kind of having a baby. And this is what you get for Roc Solid Foundation. So out of two tragedies, really, and the experience of running a business, operating a business, and losing many of businesses has helped me get to the point to where I don't want to lose this one. So
It's interesting that you've had that experience where you said about 8 businesses and always struggled. Same here, and I think that's kind of like the entrepreneurial way is you just jump in, you try something, and it usually fails the first time or 2 or 3 or 8. And
or 10, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you could either just be like, all right, well, I'm not meant for this, or you could just continue to learn and continue to iterate and then continue to build something that's even better, or maybe something that's rock solid.
Exactly. The difference is, I think, with Roc Solid right now is that so someone can always copy you, right? They can always recreate what you're doing, but they can never really change why you're doing it. And I think the difference for me, like starting a nonprofit, like when you Google start a nonprofit, it's like only millionaires start nonprofits. Like, don't do it. But the difference in this business and all my other ones is I have that passion. Like I saw my 2 cousins lose play. I saw my 2 cousins lose the fight for cancer. That's something you can't take away from me. So when I'm like, hey, Eric, can you help me with this? You say no. I'm like, okay, I'll just go to the next person. Because you can't take that deeply rooted image out of my heart. And the difference is with this one is I just haven't quit. I mean, it, Eric, like you experience the same challenges in nonprofit or for-profit. It's still a business, but for mine, it's a business with a mission. And the difference is on this one, I just haven't quit. I've experienced the same things, but I've experienced and I've gone through the experience. So this one is definitely by far the biggest challenge that I've faced, but it's the most exciting and the most rewarding.
Let's back up a little bit. Your own experience as a cancer survivor. How old were you? If you don't mind, like sharing, like what kind of cancer, like what was it like? How long did it last for?
Yeah, I was a second child, 3 years old when I was diagnosed. Liver cancer, hepatoblastoma. They gave my parents a very slim chance of survival. And then during that time frame, they ended up taking close to half of my liver out, which the cool thing is your liver does grow back. So then from that, underwent chemotherapy for about 2.5 years. That's what this is right here. I get a hash mark every time I celebrate cancer free. So I'm now 32 years cancer free.
Oh, wow.
So I was second child, 3 years old when I was diagnosed. Then my dad's sister, second child, 3 years old, was diagnosed with leukemia, just like I was, fought the battle for 5 years. Then my dad's brother, second child, 3 years old, lost the battle to cancer. And then Shannon relapsed afterwards. So I was out of 3. There was 2. There was 1.
Oh, wow.
Now it's just me. So
jeez, wow, that's
kind of
crazy,
quick
man.
I mean, I usually speak that in long time frames, but that's a pretty quick synopsis of this is what I was put here on this earth to do, is what I truly feel.
That's quite a story. So, okay, 2008, the economic recession happened. It probably lasted about 3 years. You were in construction. Were you like home building? Is that what you were doing at the time?
Yeah, I owned a lawn care company, sold that, started a construction company, got in with a couple of builders that overextended. So then therefore I overextended. I was sitting on the curb. I remember the day. I remember it was like very similar to where it is in Chesapeake right now, rainy. And I just put my hands in my head. I'm like, I'm out. I'm done, because the guys filed bankruptcy. They owed me a large sum of money. And from there, ins and out jobs. I hated to paint. But that was the only jobs that I could find at the time. But what I did while I was painting is I put my earbuds in and listened to podcasts. And then I was like, all right, there's got to be more to life than this. So I was doing something I hated, but I made it work just so I could pay the bills. But then it was education time, right? So I just leaned in, dug in. And then from there, my buddy conned me to build a play set for him. It'd been left outside in the rain, but his wife was about to leave, mutiny, right? So the place that was there, they just hadn't done it. Well, I get there, the place that was in complete, utter disarray. And then he just asked me, he was like, hey man, please just do this. This was before the concept of Roc Solid.
Yeah.
And so finally it took me and my dad, which was free labor. It took us about 19 hours to do it. Swore I would never build another place set again. This little girl comes out, hugs me, hands me a check. And she says, thank you for allowing me to play. And so I look at my dad, I'm like, I think I'm supposed to build play sets for kids fighting cancer, like tears rolling down my face. And from there, man, from saying that I would never build another play set to now, Roc Solid's been able to complete well over 800 play sets throughout the United States. It's funny how those things work.
That's crazy how it works, right? So the fact that you actually hated the work until you
Right.
saw the benefit from it.
Correct.
It's like you have to put that pain in order to get the reward.
Yep.
So that's really interesting. You know, another thing that was interesting about what you just said was the concept of the podcast. And I've gone through a very similar journey myself when it comes to podcasts in particular and the free learning that's out there. It's amazing that you have all of this amazing information about whatever it is that you want to learn. But for me, it's usually about business and entrepreneurialism and those kinds of topics. Really, kind of, you know, I've been interested in that for a long time, but it's delivered right to you, and it's free, and it's from lots of different sources, from people that have done it. Like anyone who's watching, if you're interested in something, go find 10 podcasts on that subject, and then figure out which of the hosts you like the best, and just stick with it. But it's free learning that is delivered right to your ears. It's amazing. You can learn so much there. Audiobooks too.
Yeah, I did. So I read a quote like, all of us are given the same time in the day. Well, all of us have to work to pay our bills, support our family. But what can you do like in sequence with that? And so when I read that quote, I'm like, all right, I have to paint this, but then I can do this at the same time. It's just we're all given the same amount of time. Just invest into yourself, and then you'll be able to invest into other people. So
yeah, I'm constantly listening now. As a matter of fact, I barely even like read with my eyes anymore. So always reading through here. But hey, we got a couple other comments. We have someone that you may know, Ashley Martin. Hey,
she's
Eric.
probably extremely nervous right now.
Yeah, she's probably like, don't say anything stupid, Eric. Probably me, Eric, not you,
Okay.
Eric.
No, I think that may be directed at both Erics. So.
Yeah, and then Shannon J says hello. So she is our social media specialist.
Very cool.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions for Eric or comments, post them on Facebook. If you're watching this somewhere besides Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/thisisarray/live and ask your question there. We've got another about 18 minutes or so. So hey, let's, you know, you mentioned 2008. You mentioned, is he gone?
It's back up. You got me now.
Buffering.
I was about to say it buffered. I'm still here.
I got you, man. I got you. I just asked you like 10 questions.
I'll just answer any way that I thought that you said. So
I didn't get very far, but actually, I was asking about 2008. So that was recession, right? There was a recession going on then, and then fast forward to 2020, where we're definitely in a recession at this point. I don't know if the economists have come out and actually declared it a recession, because I think it's like a lagging indicator, but certainly there's a lot of change happening in the world. You know, I'd mentioned before we went live, this is the first time I've worked out of this office, like legit done work out of this office in 5 months, which is an indicator of like how the world has changed. For us, it really hasn't changed that much, except, you know, besides us coming into an office, we still do our work. But what about for you? I mean, you're getting a lot of people together for an event. How has this changed what you do?
Oh man, so it's similar in 2008. All my emotions from 2008 of everything that I walked through as a leader, then up to 2020, I experienced the same emotions about 5 months ago. I don't even know what day it is, to tell you the truth. But the same mentality that we had in 2008 is like, all right, we need the problem that I'm called to solve is the pediatric cancer problem. That problem still exists with or without the pandemic. Right. And so like us as a leadership team, we got together after we went the ups and the downs of the roller coasters, not knowing what's going to happen. We had to get our feet. And so I heard, like, I write a lot, I journal a lot, and I just wrote down stand your ground. And so for us, we had to get to the point to where we could stand our ground. And then from there, we were like, all right, what is the new problem that our clients are facing? And when we say our clients, it's kids fighting cancer. It's the volunteers that help us build the play sets, and also the donors, the people that give us the money. So that's when we ask that question, what is the problem that we're going to solve for our clients in this new normal or this back to better phase that we're in? And we just started asking, like, hey, cancer has not quit. Neither does Roc Solid Foundation. So what is it that we can do? And so from there, man, we've dug in, we've leaned in, we've identified some of our combustion points in our processing. We've had better communication with our donors, our families, and our volunteers this last 5 months than we ever had before. Yeah. So it's kind of the same lines as, like, I get down to it and it's like, okay, how are we going to have influence in this next season that we're in? And I think Dale Carnegie said it too. It's like, if you want the influence of the people, you need to talk about what they want and show them how they're going to get it. And so for us, I wrote that question down. I have a war board in my office, and we just kept asking that question. And so we landed on, hey, listen, people can't get together right now, but we can still build community. Because, okay, so how are we going to build the community? Well, people are meeting online. Let's give them an online experience that they'll never forget. And so that for us is just that staple for us is build hope no matter what, no matter where. And so it's easy to build hope when things are good. You got to get extremely creative to build hope when things aren't good out into the worldly pandemic, not just the economic United States pandemic.
That's interesting. So you're bringing hope to them where they're at, which is basically at home, but online. How do you go about doing that? How do you implement that?
So our newest program that's going to be launching in September 1, Eric, I'll be able to tell you a lot more about that. But it's something that we are taking. It's almost like hope on demand. How do you deploy hope on demand? And that's what we're doing. And we had done it similar with our Ready Bags. Roc Solid Ready Bags we give to families all over the United States on one of the worst days of their life when their child's diagnosed with cancer. But we get the hospitals to do it. So then for us, it's like, okay, how do you deploy hope? Well, the people in their community, their grandmas, their aunts, their uncles that want to help them, let's just show them a way that they can help where we don't have to physically be there. And that's hope deployed. That's what hope looks like in this time of community.
Super interesting. And actually, it's really interesting to hear you speak about how you're changing your implementation with the way that the world is changing. I don't have a ton of experience with nonprofits, but it seems to me like most nonprofits, they establish a mission and then they just have a way of doing things, and they don't really change that much over time.
Right.
But it sounds like you're morphing with the times, which is really interesting. And as a for-profit company, we did the exact same thing that you did. Like when COVID hit, we were kind of like all like, oh no, the sky is falling, and depressed for a couple of days. And then we came up with a game plan, and we implemented that game plan. And for us, it was a lot of marketing and a little bit of defense, but that was our plan to get our footing back, and we did that. And it sounds like you're doing the exact same thing. So the overlap between like the way that you're talking and the way that we talked internally, and then the way that other business owners that I know have addressed this is like it's identical. So you're really, I mean, it definitely sounds like you are running this nonprofit, well, like other businesses would run a for-profit. How much difference do you see between those two different entity types?
Oh man, I see. Now you're up in Pandora's box for me, but I'll try to keep it. I remember getting into this, like everybody was like, "Don't start a nonprofit. Don't start a nonprofit." And when I say everybody, sometimes it's the closest people to you, right? But the research that I found, I couldn't sleep at night, because someone wants to dedicate their life to serving and loving and serving others, that they have to live in this little tiny box that's never been changed in a very long time. So for us, we wrote down, so I believe that every organization should make decisions based off of their values. Hands down, you create the values, spend the time in the values. So for us, one of our values is marry the mission, not the model. So our mission is still to love and serve kids fighting pediatric cancer, but the model is constantly changing. And so if you marry the mission, that makes the hard conversations a lot easier, because you can make decisions based on just the mission. Because right now we sold our play sets as team building exercises to the world, right? So people flew us all over the United States. We would do team building exercises for their company to build their team camaraderie together. And in the same result, it built hope for us by providing the play set. So it was a win-win. Well, right now you can't really do that too much. So that model came stopping on a dime, but those kids still deserve a place to play. So that's where we had to get creative, marry the mission, not the model. And if you're watching and you are a nonprofit or a business, marry the mission, the problem that you're solving, not the way that you're doing it. And I think you'll constantly be reinventing, re-engaging new people, and you'll be around for a long time.
Marry the mission, not the model. Did you say that's a core value?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever heard a core value refer to the mission of the organization before. Usually they're like separate things, these two separate lists that don't actually explicitly overlap. So that's pretty neat how you did that. And certainly it's a mission-based organization. That's really cool, man. That was a new concept for me. A couple things, a couple comments here. So Sean Burke, who is our amazing director behind the scenes. He's invisible right now, but he is running this live stream. He asked, "What is your number one podcast right now?" So this was asked about 10 minutes ago, but when we were talking about podcasts, yeah. What are you jamming to right now? When
you guys have one, right? So which I got to plug. No, I'm just kidding. Was Journey to 100 million or something?
100 million. That's right.
There you go. There. You. So that's one of them. Not.
Good job, dude. I got you $5,
man. I've really been digging Story Brand is a really good one for me. I think it's Donald Miller has been really good. And How We Built This, I think it's NPR. Yeah. I listened to something from Peloton that has changed my whole perspective, even in this new age where he used to build bikes, right? Manufacture the bicycles or the cycle bikes. Well, now he's not manufacturing. He's more of a building a community type of organization. So that one, How I Built This, is probably my favorite. But I can go on and on and on. But I think for me is I try to become an expert once a quarter at something. So if it's public speaking, or if it's writing, or if it's I want to learn. Right now I'm learning the difference of like polishing gold to mining for gold, because it's two totally different. So meaning for us, like the gold that we have, like it's really good. So do we just need to polish that, or do we need to go looking for mining, or do we need to mine for new gold? Mining's hard, it's expensive. So it's a combination of things, but I try to become an expert at something once a quarter. And so from there, that kind of manipulates kind of the podcast that I'm looking for.
Very cool. All right. You mentioned writing. We're going to come back to that, all right? Because I know that there's something brewing there. But we got a whole bunch of other comments, questions. All right. Kevin Griffin says, "I love this. I'm going to look into volunteering." Speaking of which, if somebody wants to help you, like how do they go about doing that?
So you can go to our website, rocsolidfoundation.org. I think you scroll down a little bit and you'll find a volunteer button. Push it. We try to make it as simple as possible for people to give back. Right now, during the pandemic, it's a little bit challenging, but we're starting to learn how we build the volunteer culture online. So I would love for anybody that's listening or watching, if they want to volunteer, there's a spot for you.
Very cool. That's awesome. All right. And Sean just brought it up. So there's the button right there. All right. Mark Bauer says morphing is vital to nonprofit sustainability and distinctiveness. Now you got to morph. I mean, like no matter what it is, whether it's nonprofit or for profit, like you have to change with the times. And there's a lot of examples of companies that have not changed with the times, and those are in the history books now. So yeah, you got to morph. Right. And then Shannon J asks, how do you profit from a nonprofit? In other words, making it a full-time career. And then actually, but before you answer that, so like that is interesting. That's a great question, Shannon. And because you can make money as a nonprofit, it's just the way that you use that money, that extra money, is not profit. It doesn't come out as distributions. So how do you make a career out of this?
So the easiest way I can explain it is like colleges, hospitals, a lot of large institutions are nonprofits. So for us, the way that we look at it, the way that we make a career out of it, nonprofit isn't like a holy halo that hangs over your head. It's a classification from the IRS. So for us, the way that we do it is there's a governor rule of, not a governor, but a rule. We strive to stay in the 80-20 rule. So if you give us $1, 80 cents that you give us, 80 cents goes to the mission, 20 cents goes to overhead, marketing, and all that other stuff. But the easiest way that I've found to explain it is the difference between us and a for-profit is that there's the shareholders, if you will, of the organization, which are our kids fighting pediatric cancer. Those are the ones that receive the profits, right? So it's like at the end of the day, we throw an event, we put 20,000 in, we pull $100,000 out. That 100,000, instead of Eric Newman or my board of directors taking a pull of that money, that goes directly back to the kids fighting pediatric cancer. So my number one boss, my number one shareholder, our kids fighting pediatric cancer, they get the distributions, play sets, ready bags, gifts, and so on and so forth.
Love it. Great question, Shannon. That's awesome. Let's talk about writing. So you mentioned public speaking. You mentioned writing. I happen to know you have a writing project that is in process right now. Yeah, let's hear about that.
So it's something, I am writing a book. It's supposed to release at the end of May. Fingers crossed on that. And it's really just reflecting on the journey of starting companies, failing companies, but really taking your pain that you've been given. Each one of us has a story to tell. Each one of us has been through some sort of pain in this life that if it's painful enough, that you can turn it into your purpose. And so taking your pain and turning it into your purpose is what this book is about. I'm excited because it's been about a 2.5-year journey for me. I truly believe journaling right now. I journal with everything. And so I've kept journals for the last 12 years of just the ups and the downs of running an organization, launching an organization. And so from there, that's what that book is going to explain. It's going to be taking your pain, creating a purpose, and it's going to be kind of a step-by-step on how to do so.
Great.
That's awesome. That's my book statement. I'm trying to really hone. And you know the process. Yeah. What's your book statement? What's this? Who's your target audience? So I'm close, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You are close, but actually your timeline is much further ahead than mine. So like I'm pushing for this year, December, whereas you're planning for another 5 or 6 months after that.
Right.
So what is the stage that you're at right now? Like, is the book fully written?
Yeah, the book is written, and now it's into the editors, the publisher's hand, the book design, cover, a lot of that type of stuff. So the manuscript's there. It needs some tweaking. Never claimed to be an author. I'm a phenomenal storyteller, I think. So it's like I write how I speak, how I tell stories. So been through some writing classes, some tips and tricks on how to improve onto that. But it will, May 2021 is when the book's supposed to be out. So it's a lot of the editing, the promoting, the marketing, and I'm creating a coaching class behind that to be able to help other people that want to learn how to start something. And then in return, that's another fundraising mechanism for Roc Solid Foundation as well.
Very cool.
Coaching platform.
Cool. So this kind of feeds back to Roc Solid Foundation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. Shannon comments again. She says, yes, love journaling. So that's pretty neat that you just keep the journals. I don't do enough of that, frankly. I probably should. I guess you find it therapeutic and just kind of like purge what's in your mind, get it out there on the piece of paper.
I do, but at the same time, Eric, you're an entrepreneur. We're in the same EO entrepreneurial group. Like, as an entrepreneur, I've always read it, heard it. Like we have 999 ideas a day. Most of them suck, right?
Yep.
But that one is what changes the world, right? So for me, those 999, even though that first original idea may not be the best, it's still there. Once you write it down and you name it, it becomes harder to kill. And so that's where I am relentlessly journaling. Nonstop. It's a mandatory thing for my team. If you're on our team, you have a journal at every meeting, and then you have a why photo of why you do what you do. Any meeting that you ever come into with Roc Solid, you got to have your journal and you got to have your photo.
Nice. That's awesome. Do you carry the journal around like 24/7?
24. If we were in an in-person meeting, you would see my journal right in front of me. Same with my team. It's nonstop. It's the easiest way. Like I have so many things inside my head. Creative wise, I have found that my creativity sometimes scares people, right? So it's not like, so especially when you have a staff and team, and if they're watching, like, you're laughing because it's true. Like you're like, we're gonna do this.
Oh yeah.
So we have a code word in our organization. Like I'll pitch, I'll have this new idea, and then someone will raise their hand and be like, "Is this rollout ready?" I'm like, "No, but it's close." So it's a way for me to capture things, man. And I found it extremely therapeutic.
Yeah, it happens all the time where we have, some brilliant idea. But I try to think about the team now too, because I'm like, all right, I'm not going to implement this by myself. I'm going to have to put this on my team, and my team's got other responsibilities that I've already put on them. And so like, is this really feasible? And you mentioned something before about like mining for gold versus polishing for gold.
Right.
Or polishing your gold.
Right.
For me, it's come back a lot of times to like, yeah, we already have the gold. Let's just make it a little bit nicer, right? Let's shine it. And so some of those ideas, instead of becoming like new products, they become morphing of an existing product, as an example. So
right.
Very cool. All right, last comment here is from Mark Bowers. Another big difference between nonprofit and for-profit is ownership. The public owns nonprofits. Is that right?
Yep. So let's first say that Roc Solid were to go out of business, and there was still cash or assets still in the organization, we would have a choice to give it to a like-minded organization, or the IRS will then take control and then I think dispense it out and stuff like that. So At the end of the day, like, even though I started Roc Solid Foundation, I can never sell it. And the board of directors, which I have an amazing board of directors, but at the end of the day, like, it's not my organization. The board is there to govern it. Now, I'm a sitting board member. I have decision power and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a public charity. My financials are public. The bylaws, everything is extremely public for people to see.
Yeah, I just recently, like in the last day or two, heard someone say for the first time that a nonprofit's finances are public, and I didn't challenge it, but I thought that was weird. I did not realize that. I did not know that nonprofit ownership is actually like in the public domain, I guess you would say. That's an interesting concept.
I don't know if it's in demand, but yeah, it's definitely like, so meaning the people own the organization.
Really cool.
Wild, man.
All right, I said Mark's was going to be the last comment, but I'm going to slide this one in here. It's from Misty Curtis again. She says, "You're a rock star, Eric." And she's talking about you because it's with a C and not with a K.
Yeah, man.
You make this old gal proud. Hope to see you soon, friend.
Love you, Misty. Thank you.
Very cool. All right, Eric. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything that you think that the audience should know before we kind of wrap this up?
Just be on the lookout for September 1. Roc Solid Foundation's got a new program coming out. It is going to change the face of Roc Solid. It's going to change the face of the pediatric cancer community, and going to change the face, I hope, of other nonprofits on how and why they do their business.
Gotcha. That's awesome. And what is the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
Man, email Kelly. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't email my assistant. The best way to get in touch with us is rocsolidfoundation.org, and Roc is spelled ROC. It's pretty easy on the website to navigate it, which I think you guys designed the website, so it's amazing. So with that, just go to the website, and it's extremely easy to find us, to give us money, to give us your time, or to give us your talent. So
very cool. All right, and so hey, I really appreciate your time. I do want to let everyone who's watching know that that Array Digital, every single year we give away a website to a deserving nonprofit. We do that usually around the Thanksgiving timeframe, and so we are ramping up our efforts to get that program back in place right now. Applications will be open very soon, so if you would like to find out about that, please go to thisisarray.live and just put in your information, and we will notify you by either our email newsletter or through, well, probably email newsletter, when that actually gets open. And so we're looking for applications from nonprofits, and we're going to build a brand new website free of charge. So,
awesome.
All right, Eric. Hey, buddy. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Thank you, bud.
All right.